Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Tactical Frog Sub 300T Homage. This watch is available from watchdives.com for $179 US. You can use the discount code WR4K and that will give you $15 US discount off the $179 US price. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So Tactical Frog is a new micro brand, and the Sub 300T Homage is so new in fact that at the time they sent me this watch they were still working on the labelling for the packaging. However, I'm pleased to report they have now finalised this, and if you purchase a Tactical Frog Sub 300T Homage, it will come in a Pelican style case like this, but it will be branded with the Tactical Frog brand emblem. I like this style of Pelican style case. They're very durable and they do suffice in protecting the watch in shipping because they're lined inside with two pieces of foam. So very good watch box. Now with regards to the other items, they're also working on those and they've now finalised them, but one gets this thank you card, and inside it invites you to join the Watch Dives Facebook group, and that will give you a strap worth $15 US if you comment with free gift for you in their Facebook group. With a watch you also get this vintage style tropic rubber strap. So let's take it out of the packaging and we'll look at it in detail. So this is a good alternative if the beads of rice stainless steel bracelet isn't your personal taste, because it does fit the aesthetic of the watch, which is clearly an homage to the Doxa Sub 300T. So as you can see, it has the format of the tropic style vintage strap, and we have a sliding keeper. On the underside it's perforated, and it also has this grid formation which allows perspiration and sweat to wick away from the wrist. So very practical to wear in warm weather, and I really like it. Brushed satin finish, good heavy gauge of metal to the buckle and tang, and it's finished to a high standard. So as you can see, the other side is also textured finish as per the tropic vintage style, and we have that grid formation which is fully perforated. So 20mm strap, and this will comfortably fit up to a 7-inch wrist with no problems whatsoever. So the orange colour does complement the dial of the watch, and one also gets a push pin resizing tool for the bracelet, and it's always nice to see a bracelet resizing tool included with the watch. It makes resizing the bracelet easy. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Tactical Frog Sub 300T Homage, and as I've discussed, it is clearly an homage to the Doxa Sub 300T, and it does that very well because it has very similar proportions. The case diameter is 43mm, we have a lug to lug measurement of 44.3mm, the thickness is 12.7mm including the dome sapphire crystal, and we have a lug width of 20mm. The 20mm lug width perfectly balances the 43mm tonneau case. There's a slight taper on the beads of rice bracelet from 20mm at the lugs down to the 2-button push flip block clasp, which is signed with the Tactical Frog brand emblem and also the brand logo, so well executed. Now minor criticism, and I often apply this to brands, it only has 3 micro adjustment holes, and I've suggested to Tactical Frog that they improve upon this 2-button push flip flop clasp, because I would like to see a longer clasp with 4 or 5 micro adjustment holes to make adjusting the beads of rice bracelet better. But having said that, it is a well executed flip flop clasp with a 2-button push. The beads of rice bracelet is very well executed, and as this is an homage to the Doxa Sub 300T, it really does fit the tonneau case very well because that also has a beads of rice bracelet. So brushed satin finish to the outer links, mirror polish to the beads of rice links, and we have mirror polishing to the flanks, and as I've discussed, push pins. The tonneau case is very well executed, nice finishing to it, flawless mirror polishing to the flanks, and we have circular brushed satin finishing to the grains of the 316L grade stainless steel on the top side and underside of the tonneau case. The tooth profile to the bezel is very well executed, and we've also got a nice circular brushed satin finish to the bezel which features a tachymeter. 120 click unidirectional bezel as one would expect, so let's test the bezel action. Good firm resistance to the bezel action. I like the fact it's tight, and no lateral side to side play whatsoever, no back play whatsoever. Very tight, firm resistance. The 120 clicks feel even all the way through the 360 degrees of rotation, which is very good. And let's just test the alignment. Perfect. The two dots on the bezel on the tachymeter and also the inner bezel, which is the dive time bezel, align perfectly. As you can see, the orange dot aligns perfectly with the green coloured dot. So it's an interesting bezel, and it follows the design of the Doxa Sub 300T, of which this is an homage to. So tachymeter scale on the exterior, and on the interior of the rotating bezel we have the conventional minute ticks and also Arabic numerals for the dive time portion of the bezel. The orange dial really does capture the essence of the Doxa Sub 300T, and it really does do a very good job of being an homage to it, because they've got the tone of the orange exactly the same as the Doxa. So I really like the contrasting black, hour and minute hand, and as per the Doxa Sub 300T, it has a larger minute hand, which makes it easy to differentiate between the smaller hour hand and the larger minute hand. So it's very well executed, good symmetry to the dial. Now I have suggested to Tactical Frog that they could improve the dial by removing Tactical Frog from the 6 o'clock position to reduce the amount of information and text on the dial. I think it would look better just with Divers 200 meter and automatic without Tactical Frog, and just have the brand emblem at 12, and they are considering doing this on later models. Dome Sapphire Crystal is absolutely beautiful to look at. Slight distortion to it because it's single domed rather than double domed, and that does add to the vintage aesthetic of it being an homage to the Doxa 300T. Blue AR coating on the underside, and there's a lovely blue hue to the AR coating, which does an excellent job of reducing the highly reflective nature of the Dome Sapphire Crystal. I really like the blue tint to it, it's just very eye-catching. So the AR coating is a nice enhancement to have, and I really like the shape of the tonneau case. It's got a lovely vintage aesthetic to it. Coin edge finished crown, which also has some flats machined into it, and it's signed with the Tactical Frog brand emblem to a high standard. So let's test the crown action. The watch is 200 meters water resistant, and I'm pleased to report that the screw down crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters. Silky smooth thread action. There's a good interface between the internal thread of the solid 316L grade stainless steel crown and the external thread of the stainless steel crown tube. So in the first position, it is the manual wind position. The movement used is the Seiko NH35A automatic. Absolute pleasure to manually wind it to top up the mainspring's tension up to its maximum 40 hours. Pulling it out to the first click is the quick set date complication. As you can see, the quick set date complication works as one would expect. Pulling it out to the final click position is the time setting position, and it feels silky smooth both clockwise and anti-clockwise, as one would expect with the Seiko NH35A. I like the large minute hand, which really does make the dial very clear and legible. Good symmetry to the applied indices, and the dial and hands are fully loomed with C3 Superluminova. So it's a very easy to read watch, and I like the contrast of the black hands against the orange dial. It's a very eye-catching, clearly legible piece. Hand winding and hacking, and as you can see, the hacking works with a nice positive click when one presses the crown back in. Absolutely silky smooth to screw the crown back down to reinstate the hermetic seal. So Tactical Frog deserve full credit for producing a very well executed screw down crown. The screw down case back is also finished to high standard. As you can see, it's engraved with the Tactical Frog brand emblem and logo. Engraved with the specification, it's got a matte bead blasted effect to the centre section, which complements the contrasting mirror polishing to the circumference. Very well executed screw down case back, and it is relatively low profile, which means it's flat and it does sit very close to the wrist. So nice snug fit, comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and really it's a very nicely engraved screw down case back. I like the attention to detail, and bearing in mind it's a low tier price point piece at $179 US, they deserve full credit for a very well finished solid stainless steel bezel. The tonneau case and also the screw down crown and case back are all finished to a very high standard. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Solid milled 316L grade stainless steel interior to the 2-button push flip lock clasp, as one would expect. Brushed satin finish to the top side, underside and flanks, and finished to a flawless standard. So I haven't sized this bracelet, I've simply taken the watch out of the watch box, and I'm pleased to report it easily fits my 8-inch wrist. It would actually fit up to an 8.5-inch wrist with no difficulty whatsoever. So plenty of length on the bracelet, which is good, and plenty of links in the beads of rice bracelet, so one can fine tune the fit to get it absolutely perfect. Good positive click to the 2-button push flip lock clasp, and good positive click to the flip lock itself, so the quality is good. The bead of rice bracelet, tapering from 20mm at the lugs down to the flip lock clasp, gives a very comfortable feel. In terms of comfort level, it feels very similar to a Jubilee bracelet, and I really like the choice of the beads of rice bracelet because it makes a refreshing change from the two default options, the Oyster style bracelet or Jubilee style, which often are used by brands within the low tier. So the beads of rice does make a nice change, and it's very aesthetically pleasing because the beads of rice links are mirror polished, but the outer links are brushed satin finish, and they've got a lovely luster to the 316L grade stainless steel. Tonneau case, very snug fit to the wrist. Now, as you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm lug-to-lug measurement to be the sweet spot, but this has a relatively short lug-to-lug measurement for a 43mm case. Now, the benefit of only having a 44.3mm lug-to-lug measurement is the tonneau case wraps around the wrist very tightly. As you can see, it's a very snug fit. The curved tonneau cushion case follows the curved profile of one's wrist, so it's actually a very good fit. It's a close fit, and it's surprisingly low profile for 43mm with a domed sapphire crystal. It's only 12.7mm thick. So although it does have wrist presence at 43mm, it's easily going to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, so an ideal daily wear piece. One thing that surprised me about this piece is it's 162 grams, so it does have a lot of heft. I consider 150 grams to be the sweet spot for comfort, but also wrist presence and heft. But the thing is, it surprised me because it's 162 grams, but it actually feels more comfortable and lighter on the wrist than the weight would suggest. It feels more like a circa 150 gram watch in 40 or 41mm. So it's a tonneau case in 43, but it actually wears smaller on the wrist. It feels more like a 40 or 41 due to the curved profile to the flanks of the tonneau case, and the fact it curves around the wrist, as I've discussed. It's got a nice curved profile to the tonneau case. Absolutely beautiful to look at on wrist. I love the orange dial and the contrasting C3 Superluminova with the contrasting black hands. It's a very beautiful piece to look at. Right, so let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak. Now, bearing in mind that this uses C3 Superluminova, I've got very high expectations of the performance of the lume, and I'll be very impressed if it's $179 the lume performs well, because often lume is an area which brands use cost-cutting measures. Right, so this hasn't disappointed, and I think that Tactical Frog deserve full credit because this isn't just C3 Luminova, they have used C3 Superluminova. Very unusual to get C3 Superluminova at only $179 within the low tier. As you can see, the 12 o'clock index on the dial is clearly legible. Good symmetry to the applied indices, nice large lume pip on the bezel, so one can clearly see the lume pip. And also I like the large minute hand, which is clearly larger than the hour hand and therefore easy to differentiate between the minute and the hour. So the sweeping second hand also has a lume dot on it, and as you can see, it's sweeping around the dial. It's glowing brightly and it's continuing to glow for a good length of time, so it's 10 out of 10 performance. I really like C3 Superluminova. I love the green tone of it, and I think it fits perfectly with the aesthetic of this being an homage to the Doxa 300T because it has that 1970s look to it. The C3 Superluminova has a very similar green tone to tritium, which was the original lume used in the 1970s, so it's a very good choice. Now, with regards to the movement used, you will all be familiar with the Seiko NH35A automatic, which is made in Japan. It has 24 joules, it runs at 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. It has hand winding and hacking, which are useful complications. The 40-hour power reserve is perfectly acceptable, and it has a stated accuracy of -20 to +40 seconds per day. So a rather wide accuracy range to the NH35A. However, I'm pleased to report that Tactical Frog are regulating the NH35As they use to a very good standard. This one is running consistently at +8 seconds per day, which is well within the -20 to +40 seconds range of the NH35A. So I want you to consider that this is only $179, but it's +8 seconds per day accuracy, which is excellent. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So the price point of this watch is $179 but bear in mind you can also use the WR4K discount code to get another $15 discount off that price. Yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, and yes, I consider it to be excellent value. At $179, this is very strong specification. Sapphire crystal with AR coating, and I really like the blue tint of it as I've discussed. 200 meters water resistant, it uses the Seiko NH35A, which is a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. And I like the use of C3 Super Luminova. They haven't cut any corners with regards to the Lume and used Luminova, for example. Overall, the case finishing, the quality control, the build quality, and the execution of the screw-down crown and this screw-down stainless steel case back are all done to a high standard. So really, the only criticism I have, the only room for improvement, is I would like to see an improvement on the flip lock clasp. I would like to see 4 or 5 micro adjustment holes, and another thing I would like to see is the push pins upgraded to screw pins, but however this is subjective. Some collectors actually prefer push pins because they make resizing the bracelet easy. So I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I'm going to declare it a champagne watch for lemonade money. I think Tactical Frog deserve full credit for producing a new watch, and the first edition is a very well executed piece overall. Excellent quality, excellent value, and I think it's a very good looking piece. So I hope you've liked my review of the Tactical Frog Sub 300T Homage. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.